Reputation is all. Before you begin your search for the Sacred Stone Monastery, you decide to tie up loose ends in Red Larch in respect of the businesses that require new ownership. After having your offers for the stoneworks, tannery and storage warehouse accepted, you seek out Zomith, the caravan guard you encountered weeks earlier, to see if she'll be interested in taking over the management of overseeing these businesses, as well as supply and delivery logistics. It does seem like you're becoming business people rather than adventurers, but what you're doing is investing in the future of Red Larch. You've grown fond of the place and its people these past weeks, and you also feel a little responsible for the turmoil it has experienced, even though it was for the greater good. Zomith is found at the helm at high sun, still in her pots, but you make your employment offer to her. She immediately shoves her drinks to one side and becomes very businesslike, wanting to know the specific details of your arrangement and whether she can hire crew, etc. You lay out your expectations, with pretty much amounts to a blank check given the sums of cash you're making available. She tells you to leave it with her and she'll get Red Larch up on its feet again, and for some reason you feel you can completely trust her. You leave the helm with Zomith close behind, as she takes her leave to have a word with Ironhead about a deal on weapons for guards. Wishing her luck, it's not long before your attention is drawn to a polite-looking man waving at you as he comes down the road. It is Thorsk Thorlorn of Thorlorn's Safe Journeys, a wagon maker of high repute. He is keen to begin a partnership with the new business owners in town and offers you a deal on supplying wagons and their repair. You let him know that your affairs are now managed by Zomith, who you gesture to a couple of 100 yards away, already trying to recruit caravan guards. But you instruct Thorsk to let her know you've reached a gentleman's agreement. Thorsk is pleased at this and sets off to talk to the half-orc. With affairs taking shape in Red Larch, you decide to make for Belliard to try to obtain more information about the missing Mirabar delegation, as you think this might offer some insight into the whereabouts of the Sacred Stone Monastery. Your flying steeds take a good part of the day to get there, and you land just outside of the town to walk your hippogriffs and vulture to the local stables before heading for the local inn, the Watchful Knight. Inquiries into the delegation reveal that the trail is becoming cold, but there is a common consensus that it left one morning to head south on the Desserin Road for Summit Hall, but that it did not reach its destination. However, despite being interested in these findings, you are distracted by mounting concern amongst the locals about an incursion of Ice Shield orcs who seem to have begun raiding from their holes in the high forest. You learn that they were last seen in an area northeast of Belliard, and you decide to pause your trip south towards Summit Hall to help whatever ranchers are in their way. The next morning, your high altitude perspective means that it doesn't take long for you to spot a plume of smoke in the distance. Descending, you circle what seems to be a devastated ranch and spot the obvious tracks of those responsible. You land to see if there are any survivors and rescue an exhausted farmer from his burning home. He is a half-elf and introduces himself as Selwyn Anderl, and is not in the least concerned for his own welfare, being more worried about the welfare of Megan, his wife, who was taken by orc raiders. He mentions that his home, Anderl Farm, has no chance of fighting them off, and that he thinks the orcs are heading to Delmon Ranch next, giving you directions. With confirmation that the Ice Shield orcs were responsible and an idea of where they are heading, you promise the farmer that you will try to return with his wife. It is not long before you spot the surrounded Delmon Ranch up ahead. Your flying steeds allow you to gain entry by landing inside the compound with little difficulty, and you are graciously welcomed before orc javelins start flying over the palisade and you must defend the small holding. The battle is fierce, and Muezza and Leilune take up positions on the roofs of buildings to snipe at the exposed orcs, although this also puts them at risk. A group of orcs begin to successfully climb over the palisade, and Helfi and Jadargo try to beat them off as much as possible, with the aid of some of the common folk of the farm. Inspired heroics are carried out by a travelling knight named Erned Stoutblade, who plugs a breach in the defences with his body and slays many orcs. In less than a minute, the Ice Shield orcs' resolve is broken, and they flee in the direction of the high forest. After congratulating each other, you search through the bodies of the orcs and find Megan tied up, but otherwise unharmed, and so you release her and let her know her husband is alive. You decide to rest at Delmon's Ranch until morning, before delivering Megan to Anderl. Erned asks if he can join you, as he is travelling to Summit Hall, and you accept his company, riding behind Helfi on her hippogriff. The next day, you deliver Megan to Anderl, who breaks down in relief at you finding his wife alive. He tells you about his farm and the work that will be needed in getting it back on his feet, and you collectively decide to spend a week there, helping Anderl fix fences, barns, and other things that make a farm work. By the time the week is over, Anderl is a firm friend. Although sorry to see you go, he wishes you the best in all your efforts to confront evil as you head for Beliard. Although a week has passed, news of your deeds at Delmon's Ranch has not quite reached the common folk of the small town. This means you are able to keep your heads down and pick up the Desserin Road as it takes you south into the Sumber Hills, travelling by foot in order to pick up the delegation's tracks if possible. After about 10 miles, you become suspicious of a flock of crows about a mile off the road. You decide to investigate, and through your uncanny tracking abilities are able to locate the remains of the Mirabar delegation. A dozen dead soldiers lie on the ground, dressed in black surcoats, bearing the emblem of a red axe. Most appear to have died from battle injuries, although some lie in small craters or jumbles of broken rock. Abandoned and looted wagons lie nearby, and a couple of broken trunks sit on the ground by the wagons. 2 rock cairns, one large and one small, stand atop a hillside nearby. You recognise the axe emblem as being of Mirabar, and guess that the craters and jumbles of rock are remnants of earth magic. After investigating the large cairn, you find it is filled with 5 bugbears. The small one contains the body of a female monk, garbed in the robes of the black earth and wearing a gilded tin mask of a snarling face. What's clear is that no civilian members of the Mirabar delegation appear to be among the dead. Although you spot a track leading away from the site, you decide to head to Summit Hall first so that Erned can get there safely. Although this involves a precarious night camped in the Sumber Hills, you arrive at Summit Hall and are greeted as friends due to being in Erned's company. The leader of Summit Hall, Ushian Stormbringer, also greets you and invites you to have dinner in order to gain news of the road. During this discussion, you speak of your finding of the Mirabar delegation and ask Ushian if she has seen anything strange in the Sumber Hills. Apart from strange weather events and heightened banditry, she hasn't. However, as soon as you mention the Sacred Stone Monastery and Black Earth cultists, she lets you know of such a site, although they haven't been any trouble to her. In your conversation, you discover that the Samular Knights of Summit Hall were affiliated with the Order of the Gauntlet. In order to preserve stability in the region, you let Ushian know that Riverguard Keep is purged of bandits, and that perhaps the Order of the Gauntlet could help stabilise the region by occupying it. Ushian thinks this is a good idea, and promises to send word to Waterdeep in the morning for fresh resources. You spend the day at Summit Hall recuperating before leaving to locate the monastery, saying your goodbyes to Erned. After a short flight, you land on the west bank of the Desserin River, using Ushian's directions to find the monastery situated in a natural amphitheatre. A quick reconnaissance tells you that it is occupied, but that no one is currently outside. You gather together to discuss your next steps. Thank you for listening to the progress of my Dungeons & Dragons group as they make their way through the Princes of the Apocalypse campaign setting. Watch out for further episodes where we shall learn of the party's fate as they enter the Sacred Stone Monastery and face the Black Earth cult.